Welcome to the Real Estate Entrepreneurs Podcast.
Welcome to the Real Estate Entrepreneurs Podcast. Today, I have somebody that's a pro in the construction business. My friend, Rotty Garzilazo. How are you doing, Roddy?
Good, man. How you doing?
Doing pretty good, man. I think the last time I saw you was maybe a couple of years ago at a mastermind.
Yeah, I don't do masterminds
Now,
anymore.
yeah, me neither. You don't get me wrong. I may go to other masterminds that maybe half what I want. Like, for instance, offline we were talking about YouTube and things like that. That's a mastermind that there's a guy that has a mastermind regarding social media and YouTube. That's something I may join, right? But
that I agree with. See, that I agree with. I think the era of masterminds, there are so many that are similar, and then there's so many that just don't do anything. Actually, they just collect money. But how many real estate investing masterminds can you be a part of and not figure it out? How many masterminds can you be a part of and not have a Rolodex of people you could call who can call somebody else, who can call somebody else? I mean, at some point you got to have that. But I do agree, like, since we moved into the AI space on the construction level, I want to do AI masterminds. Like, I want to go see those guys. So like you said, YouTube and social media, brilliant. Because now for us, guys like you and I have been in the business this long, it's more about the right resources to help the growth in the trajectory that you're going now, right? So I am a big believer that what got you here won't get you there, right? But what got us, what we've done in our past got us here. And now we're looking at the future of business and technology and AI and marketing and branding. And hey, listen, without a brand, you have nothing to market. If you have nothing to market, you're dead in the water, right? And social media is your vehicle. And for the most part, social media is free. So if you're not using it, you're a fool.
Right. Now, before we talk business, Roddy, where are you from originally?
I'm up here in Chicago.
Are you born and raised in Chicago?
I was born in Waukegan, Illinois, which is the north of in Illinois. It's a whole fucking thing,
bro. I know,
but we have counties, right? Like
exactly where Waukegan is. I know exactly where Waukegan is. I went to boot camp over there.
So you know how beautiful it is.
Yeah.
So that's
now
so that's where my family's
the
from.
Navy base was on the hood. Like, it was on the hood side, you know. So
we are in the hood. So you had from the Wisconsin border down, you had like Winthrop Harbor, Zion, Waukegan, North Chicago. And that's kind of how it was where we were raised. Like where I was born and raised, it was dirt poor. I mean, I was raised by my grandmother. My mom was 17 when she had me. So, I mean, she couldn't afford a kid. She was a kid having a kid. So I lived with my uncles and my grandmother in Waukegan over there by a place called Mike's Pizza. And it was off Belvedere and next to Belvedere Park. We had powdered water that was supposed to be our milk for cereal. Dude, it was fucked up shit. But I wouldn't change it for the world because those are phenomenal memories. I mean, being broke and poor, like, you don't know that. You just you feel it, but it's not a conscious like, oh my God, I'm poor. It's like, dude, I'm gonna go outside and ride my bike, and I'm gonna, there's places you could go and not go, and there's people you're gonna talk with and not talk with, and problems you're gonna find you no matter what. That's how that world was. But for the most part, I wanted to ride my big wheel and go off ramps and shit. Like, it was just different.
So, you grew up in Waukegan, and then did you graduate high school?
No, not there. So my parents, when I was about, I'd say 11-ish, moved us across town, literally across the county. We were closer to the city, like closer to the north side, but we were still like a place called Vernon Hills, right? And that was night and day. I'm talking white and black. I'm talking about brown and white. There was no gray, right? So when we moved there, it was a whole different world, whole different tax bracket. It was extremely expensive. So my father had to work 2-3 jobs just to survive. And I remember it was a tremendous culture shock because Monday through Friday, I'm going to phenomenally ranked national schools. And then I'm still going back to Waukegan on the weekends.
your
that was
sound,
normal to me. I look back on that because
your sound went out. Rod, your sound went out for some reason. I don't know why.
oh, sorry, you hear me now? You hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah, I can hear you.
So what I was
Now,
saying is like, go ahead.
yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead. Tell me about going on the weekends. You were going to Waukegan, and
Yeah,
that's
so
where
I'd
I
be
got.
back in Waukegan on the weekends with grandma doing all that, and then during the week I'd be going to school out here, and it was difficult because school was hard. Like it was not. We didn't get that kind of education in Waukegan that we got in Vernon Hills. So I ended up going to a high school in Libertyville, which is a town next to Vernon Hills, which was a top 25 high school in the country. It still is. And in that area that we lived in at that time, mind you, we were the poorest in that town. We were just trying to survive. But my parents were like, we got to give you a shot. Like we're trying to give you a shot. So we were like in this triangle. So 5 towns went to one high school, which was Libertyville, because that was the major high school at that time. It was either that or Carmel, which was a Catholic school. So when we did that, my graduating class, I graduated high school in 99. The graduating class we had 1,600 students in our senior year. That's how many kids we had. We had a lot of kids. So it was very competitive in sports. It's very competitive in education, but we were a dominant school. And the schools all around us in different neighboring towns were all ranked as well. And there's still, I think Stevenson now is ranked probably top 5 schools in the country. So we were around good schools. And that's why I always think, like, what a crazy education to receive, because I'd go back home and fuck around in the streets, and then I'd go back home and go to school with a whole different world of kids that were Abercrombie and Fitch. Like they were like the model type kids, and I'm good looking now. I wasn't good looking then. That like it's just wild how you just evolve, man. But I'm grateful.
So what do you do after high school?
Play ball. So I went to a local college, community college, and I played some baseball, and I kept playing baseball and playing baseball and playing baseball. That's what I did. So I've been a lifetime baseball player. I come from a long line of baseball players. My son plays ball. My daughter plays ball. That's just who we are. That's my Puerto Rican side.
What position?
That was something that I was pitching.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I throw that flame, dude.
I used to be a catcher
right
dude.
Here.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, so I'm from Venezuela, bro, and Venezuela is well known for playing baseball. Actually, Ozzie Guillen was the manager for the White Sox, right?
White
and
Sox.
so
he played for the Sox.
Was that?
He
played for the Sox many years. And I used to be a catcher, but then I kind of like found basketball, and I like basketball more than baseball for some reason. I just think what happened to me playing baseball, I could have been a much better baseball player, or I could have grown to be one, but the practices were too boring for me. Like I think that manager that I had when I was a kid, he just made it so boring, man, that I was like, nah, fuck this. I don't want to do this. I'm just gonna go do something else. And I went off to basketball. But even when I was playing, I had in one of the games, I had the one of the scouts from at the time, the Montreal Expos were still a thing, and the guy came talk to my dad and said, "Hey, we'd love to sign your son for our." They have like these farms in Venezuela where I don't know if I don't think they have them anymore, but back then they used to have these farms where they build baseball stadiums, and they'll put the kids in there to train them and to help them grow before they went to A or double A or whatever. And basically, they groom the kids to be baseball players later on. So, but I wasn't interested. I was like, I don't know about that. I don't know if I want to play baseball. That was my answer.
No,
And was that?
No, I believe you. Trust me.
Yeah, and my dad was like, okay, if he doesn't want to do it, I'm not gonna make him do it. I wasn't sure. So I was a very insecure kid too when growing up. something completely different today. But anyhow, so you play ball, and how are you making money then? Like, what? How do you you know, make money to pay for stuff to go out or whatever?
So at the time, I haven't thought about this in a long time. At the time, I mean, I was probably bartending or serving, waiter, just making that easy cash kind of thing during that time period. Because I didn't know what I wanted to do yet. I've always been the entrepreneurial type growing up, and I think the real life education I got growing up, where I was, on one side of the tracks and then the other side of the tracks, and then together I'm on just hopping both ways. That education allowed me to look at things in a different way. Where I'm like, dude, I can go make my own money, because over here, these guys are hustling because they have to hustle. But these guys over here are hustling in a different way. So let me put that together, right? So they got product, they got money, right? So things start coming together. And then you start looking at things and going, well, everybody seems to be talking about, a lot of my friends, when I was like in Berlin Hills and went to Liberty, their parents owned companies. And I'm like, oh, okay, so his dad owns a landscaping company, or this guy owns a financial company, or whatever it is. And I'm like, interested. A lot of them were in real estate too. A lot of them were real estate. Moms were real estate agents. Dads were brokers. You know what I mean? So real estate was a big thing at that time in the late 90s. So in my mind, I always thought like, oh, well, I've always liked, what's funny about me is that I know that people have the wrong misconception about me, but I don't go out of my way to correct it. I don't give a fuck. That's what you think. But I'm the first person that helps people out. I used to work in the ER as a paramedic, for thinking I was going to be a fireman at that time period too. I was like, all right,
so
did
you go like in college? Is that where you were studying to be a paramedic?
Well, I left college. I never finished. I just ditched college. I did like 1 or 2 years. I said, fuck it. So I would take classes every now and then in my early 20s, but I was already started a business. I was already into business. And I thought that if I could be a fireman, I'd have, 2 days on, 1 day off. That was my mentality at like 20. It was like, oh, okay, I could have a day off to work on business, right? I look back and think like that'd have been really difficult, but it would have been doable. Knowing what I know now, I'd be like, that'd have been hard, right? But it would have been doable. It'd been a different road, actually. But so I was working in the ER, and I love direct patient care. My whole thing is I love people. I love helping people. And I will always help people. That's just who I am. But I know that it comes with negative energy, and I'm all good for that. My shit's always about good vibes only, baby. That's it. Because I'm a good timer. I'm a good vibe kind of person. And I think that when I was younger, I was just trying to figure out which route I was going to go. And then ironically enough, it was a doctor that I worked with who had a property, and he asked if I knew how to rehab it. And I said, no, I don't know what you're talking about. My uncles were in the trades at that time, and I did work in the trades in high school, like for my uncles. And the rest is history, dude. This guy showed me what a rehab was because he had a rental. And I was like, wait a minute. It's for whatever reason, at like the age of 20, A connected to B. And I was like, interesting. And then my birthday's 9/11. And then boom, 9/11 happens, right? So economy crashes, right? And then all of a sudden it's like, now I'm learning, well, what is, on one side it's terrible. On the other side, it's like people are putting money in. It's like, what's going on with this? So it was just weird how God had a plan for me early on, because things started to click.
Okay.
Like I didn't want to be in construction. I didn't want to be in construction.
That's how you got into construction.
But I realized that's how I got into it full time, because I didn't want to be in construction. I never even thought about being in fucking construction. I thought to myself, I'm the kind of person that I enjoy problem solving, and I just kept thinking about all the things. Because when we started taking jobs, like we started really getting into them, like, all right, let's find more remodeling jobs with investors, because we actually worked with only investors almost all my career. Every now and then we'll take a job outside of it for somebody I know as a favor, like, yeah, we'll do your kitchen or whatever. But it's more like investments. So with that said, we just started we started learning what the hedge funds were. We started seeing that, people with money usually have a couple properties, but I also learned real quick, like they don't know anything about construction. And that was hurting me, like hurting us as a company. Like they don't know what time frames are. I mean, they're always like, how long is it going to take? Make up a number, 8 weeks. That's too long. How do you know it's too long? I don't know. It just sounds too long. Well, then you're just as big an idiot as I am, right? Like we both don't know. So I realized, like, dude, people don't know construction. That's going to kill everybody. It's killing me in construction that Ricardo doesn't know it. So it's like shit. And then, we started doing lots of volume. We started getting all these awards that you see around me from all the magazines and stuff like that. We're a legitimate entity making a name for ourselves in Chicago, working with investors. And I learned after maybe 100 or 200 flips, I'm like, maybe one day I'll teach this shit. And this is before the town pros. This is before mastermind. This is before anybody got in this game. I was in it before. And I was sitting there going, somebody's got to teach these people. And I'm like, they should go to, at that time, I'm like, they should go to college and learn construction management. That's my thought. And then it didn't dawn on me that maybe I could teach them that shit, because that was never an option in 2008. No one's talking about that shit. There was another recession coming, So it's like, it's just wild how life worked. And then, 2008 comes and boom, now every hedge fund in the world is buying 10,000 units, and I'm like, okay, so we started working with American Homes for Rent, Waypoint Homes, which is now Invitation Homes, which is owned by Blackstone. So it's like you start learning all these little break-off companies that they've got out getting all these rentals. And what we started doing at that point was the Blackstone indirectly made my company way better, because I started learning their process, right? I started thinking, well, if they're going to send me all these budget breakdowns and dashboards, I should study these, because we started becoming, we were the GC running everything, like running the field, being on the field, to becoming a paper GC who then ran other GCs. And I said, okay, now we're becoming like a management company. How do I manage that? Because these are psychos too, right? So I'm like, well, how does Blackstone manage us, right? So I started looking at all the things they would send us: contracts, budget, scopes, how they had their vendors already set up and worked out, how they track their KPIs, how they gave a 15% GC fee at that time. I'm like, all right, cool. So I'm learning it, and then I'm doing it. I'm applying it to my business, to the people we're hiring. And it just kept growing from there. And then you get through that recession, come 14, 15, we start teaching it heavy. I'm like, all right, we're going to start doing boot camps. And I remember my first boot camp. I know what the fuck I was doing. But we went after it, and, we're on, when I choose to do the next one, which I don't have on the books at all yet, it would be our 39th camp in like 15 years, dude. So it's pretty wild that we're almost at 40, teaching the same shit we've been teaching, which is rehabbing and construction. We've never deviated from that. I don't teach people investing. That's not my world. I don't teach people about options and all that shit. That's not what I do. I teach you, if you're going to take that and you're going to flip it, here's how you should probably do that. That's it. And everything we've ever done is about creating an ecosystem, right? A construction ecosystem based on one core skill set. For me, it's construction. Again, I didn't want to be in construction, but we started there because we knew that was the solution to your problem, was construction. And then it evolved into a SaaS platform that we sold. Then it evolved into boot camps. Then it evolved into an academy. Then it evolved into now what we're doing with the AI. So it's like we've never left construction. We are still heavily in construction, but we just keep continuing to evolve with what construction needs and the pace that construction goes. So it's easy. It'll always be easy to be the number one fucking target on everybody's back, because the construction takes or makes your money, right? Construction is going to make your profit. That's how it works, right? So we do our best to consult and teach it. If you choose not to use us, that's fine. No problem. But somebody better teach you this shit. I mean, we used to charge $30,000, $40,000, like every other coach in the world does. We charge this GOAT program. It's 30 days for $5,000. That's what we charge. $2,500 down to start. Your next 25 is due in 30 days. Like, we've done this so long that we know what works. And construction is taking your money. So you don't have 30 G's to throw at education. You might have 5. And people now are really taking us up on that because we do this. I just teach it. We have our courses, our classes together, one-on-one. I make it 100% affordable because you need the money to go into construction. You need the money for your flip. So I've never understood how all these other coaches take that much money and expect them to be able to afford it when you're probably teaching them what they should be, how to make money, not lose the money. So, it's just the evolution of how we got here. And that literally covers 20 fucking years, man. That's crazy to think about that. I mean, we're going to go into 2026 here soon. That's nuts.
So what you started in 2001, roughly, because
we didn't even own it. Like we didn't even I can't tell you that I felt comfortable till maybe like 2010. It took like 10 years, dude, before I'm like, maybe I know what I'm doing. I don't know. And in construction, you don't, because this project is not the same as that project.
No, they're all
That
different.
lender is not the same process as that lender. That asset is not built the same as this asset. That ARV does not even compute to that. It's just so different all across the board. And one of the things that I advocate for, it's funny because I would advocate against contractors as a contractor when I was really, really gung-ho about teaching investors the game. Now, because investors still want to poke blame, I'm back on the contractor side saying, listen, they know how to take your money legally because you don't know the process. You don't know how to do draws. You don't even know what quality control is. You don't know project management. You didn't budget correctly for it in the first fucking place. There will always be change orders that you did not plan for. What do you expect this guy to do? Stay on your project or move on to the next project for the next guy who might know what they're doing? That's construction. And we teach it to both contractors and the investors, and they still will go, well, isn't it the contractor's fault? No, dude, it's you own the home. That company doesn't. His job is to show up and put it together for you, but you don't have a budget for it. Do. That's rehabbing 101. No investor has the right budget ever because everything is 50% below retail value in construction. So you'll never get the A-level team. You're going to get the C-level team that you barely afford, who can barely afford to even show up on the fucking job and barely can afford to have their own insurances, let alone know what their own overhead is. And they're charging a markup, not a margin, because the A-level charges a margin. I'm telling you, dude, I've been teaching this far too long and living it far too long. And you can't blame the contractors. You can't blame construction management companies. They know what to do. But if you give me pennies, I can't make $1 unless you gave me 100 pennies. But if you give me 50 pennies, you could have easily given me 2 quarters. You see what I'm saying? Like the logic behind the way the money works is not there.
All right, so let's talk about construction, right? And I have a lot of experience in construction. Maybe not the way you do, because I never built a house from the ground up. Okay, I don't know if you have, but I have never done that. And I've flipped a lot of houses. I've probably flipped over a few hundred. I'm not sure what the number is. And I did have a sequence for my rehabs. Okay, my rehabs were the most boring rehabs ever. Why? Because I always flip the same fucking type of house, same paint, same countertop, same kitchen, cabinets. Sometimes I will change the flooring because I found a cheaper tile somewhere else that was good looking or whatever, or floor decor had a sale on a specific product and I bought it. But I did have a sequence for my rehabs. Now, for the rehabbers, Roddy, what are the 5 must do according to you? Like, what are the 5 things that I would focus on as a rehabber according to Roddy?
Okay. 1, I would understand how to run a construction company. All right. You can't really jump into construction and not have a clue about the business of construction. So I would learn the business of construction. Secondly, I would learn about creating and developing budgets. How are they created? So 1, learn the business of the business, not just construction. How does the construction industry work? Because it's a lot. 1, 2, learn about the money part about it. How do you create estimates and budgets? Where does that derive from? Is it from a square foot? Is it from a price point that's fixed? Is it from a negotiation standpoint? Because when you learn how to develop, we try to teach you how to think, not what to think. All right. So we look at, like, when we coach, it's like, I want you to think about the budget. What can affect a budget? So we say, understand all of the risk. We created a risk wheel. So I'm like, look at all these different risks because that affects your budget. You can't just put a number together and think that's it. It's not it. It's not it. Right. Did you consider weather? Did you consider time of year? Did you decide the season? When you start the project, will it go into the snow? Will it go into the rain? Or is it going to go into freezing? We have a lot to worry about in the Midwest. So these are things that are going to affect your budget. And if it affects your budget, it affects your time. It affects your time, it affects your ability to sell. It's all connected. It's a chain. So that's why I say learn about budgets, okay? Because there's a lot that goes into creating a budget. It's not just like, that's going to cost 30 G's. It's probably going to cost 65. Here's why. Boom, 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 boom. A lot of risk involved. So that's the second thing I would learn. The third thing I would learn is actual project management. And not from the sake of people thinking like, I'm going to go project manage a construction site. The fuck you are. You don't know enough to do that. You're managing people. So learn people. Learn how people operate. More importantly, the fourth thing is build an A-level team, which goes into my previous one, which is what I'm talking about. The fourth one is build an A-level team. But project managing is meaning project managing that A-level team that you put together in level 3, in step 3, right? You have to put together a good team. How do you know how to put together a new team? Go back to step 1 and learn the business so you understand what you need. You know how many students come to me and go, I want to learn all the sub-trades. Like, who do I hire and why? And I'm like, well, give me an example. They're like, well, how do I know, when I need a drywall guy versus a painter? I said, sometimes they do it together. Sometimes they're separate. I said, depends on what they offer. I said, general contractors doesn't mean general contractor of all things. They might be a straight general contractor of all things paint, all things flooring, all things siding. You have to know that. So that's what I'm saying. So 1, learn the entire industry as a whole. How does the business operate? 2, learn your budgets. 3, understand project management, the process of people, which means you got to learn personalities. You have to learn strengths and weaknesses, right? And you have to learn. I'm not this big guy on motivating. I see it all over the internet. Everybody, all the people you know and I know are like, this is how you motivate this and motivate that. The fuck, dude? I don't teach motivation. If you're not motivated, don't call me. Like, I'm not here to teach you how to be motivated in life. You either have it or you don't. That's not my business. So that's kind of how I look at that. So when you're hiring your A-level team in step 4, that's the stuff you have to look for. Are these guys the entrepreneurial type? Are they problem solving? Are they hungry? Are they self-motivated, right? And then the 5th thing I would learn is, how do you put together an incentive plan? Notice I didn't even talk about fucking construction once. Notice when we teach this, I tell you, like, I'm going to teach you how to be the GOAT in 30 days. And we didn't even talk about construction. I talk about everything that you have to do, the ecosystem around, the spokes around the hub being construction. You need to have the spokes in place to hold the wheel together. That's the key, right? That's the brilliance behind why we teach it, because it's about everything else, the tertiary, the ancillary resources that will affect your project. Notice I didn't talk about a project. So that's huge. And that's a great question. I'm glad you asked me that, because I say it all the time. 1, learn the business of construction. 2, learn what money and budgets and how they're created and all the risks associated. 3, master project management from a people process. Learn to run and help people. 4, right? Put it all together in terms of what? What was the 4th thing I told you? See if you even remember.
Shit,
I love it. But this is my passion. This is what I do 14 times a day, right? Because we're building the business around construction. You cannot flip a house unless you learn the business around construction, right? And it's everything it's everything that I just told you that makes a lot of sense. Everybody's so videos. I've got to go there and put that's part of project management, but it's a different part of project management. Like, people don't realize when you hire a general contractor, you're hiring a project manager by default. So get the fuck out of his way.
Yeah.
You're paying the premium for that. You're actually paying the premium for that. So if you want to run the subs, which I'm totally cool with. I tell people, this is how you do that. This is how you GC. Then why aren't you paying yourself in the budget? Why don't you have a project management line item with the lender that you can pay yourself in cash flow during rehab? What's wrong with that? Oh, I didn't think about that. No shit, because you never learned the business of construction. And that's why everybody who gets mad at me in the industry is because I know the business of construction. I know where people should make money and could make money, but don't make money. That's not my business to tell you that, unless you hired me to coach you on that. No problem. You see what I'm saying? It's a very different industry.
When I was running my crews, I was paying myself, brother, like, because I had business partners and they weren't doing the shit. I was doing the construction, and I'm like, no, I gotta get paid, guys, because I'm the one, number one, dealing with the personnel, right? Babysitting grown ass man. That's what I felt like. And then
all day, all day, dude.
So hey, hold on. So let's talk about that, Roddy. Like,
that's all day,
because that's probably one of the hardest parts of being a GC. It's the labor, right? The people that are doing the painting, the sheetrock, the drywall. Now, on my case, I subcontracted the mechanicals, all right, because I don't have a license for electricians. I didn't have a license for the plumbing. So those things I subcontracted. I went and got me an electrician, a plumber, an AC guy, the roofer as well, and the foundation. Like here in Houston, we had a lot of foundation issues. So, even though you don't really need a permit for the foundation itself,
Right.
I didn't want to fuck with it. Yeah, that was the reality, right? So, those are, and some, don't get me wrong, some houses I fixed, like pier and beam houses, no big deal, because I just put jacks underneath and my guys will go do it. But
Right.
um but when it came to the trades, a lot of those guys were on my payroll. Like I hired them, especially when I was doing volume, right? I think at one point we were doing 47 projects at a time, so it only made sense that I hired them and they only work for me full time. And man, one of the hardest things was dealing with them, like making sure they were working, making sure they were showing up on time, making sure that by the time I left the construction site, they were just fucking off, So because they horseplay, they take naps. I caught them drinking one time, beer and stuff like that, and so how do you handle that? Like, how does Roddy handle? And I don't know if you have direct people like that right now, but when you do, how is it that what do you put in place to mitigate that risk?
So when we bring on smaller general contractors or a new crew, we give them deliverables, and in those deliverables, we teach them how we operate, right? So the same thing we would do with like an investor client. We give them like a whole outline and agreement of how we operate, what we do and don't do, right? We do the same thing with our contractors, where I'm like, listen, this is how you're gonna get paid. These are hard money loans. There's gonna be delays and problems. Be ready for it. I can't predict it. I know what's gonna happen. It's fucking nature of the business. But I also tell them what we expect. There is no drinking on the job. There's none of that. Job will be clean. So I think one of the big pieces to your question is you have to generate respect early on. And in construction, contractors will respect a contractor, but they will not respect a non-contractor telling them contracting shit. Right? Yeah. So I could talk the level, and I could also talk the level of Wall Street. Right? Wall Street doesn't want to deal with fucking Southside Mobile, Alabama. Southside Mobile, Alabama don't want to deal with Wall Street. But they'll go through the bridge to do that. And that's me, right? So understanding both sides of the dynamic gets you respect. Understanding how you can talk to both parties gets you respect, right? Do that. I don't know how to do it, but go do that. It's more like, hey, I need you to get that beam up, dude, because it's going to take you at least 2.5 hours. And I still need to get that fucking column set, get that footing in. Whole different conversation than, hey, can we get that done? Which is what every investor does. Can we get that done? I'm going to explain what I want done, how I want it done, to get it done. Respect, right? So I think setting the tone early on, you get the respect. The follow through is where you come on the job site and you're really guiding them. A couple of days ago, was it Thursday or Friday? I had a crew that was supposed to do one of our decks on one of our $1 million flips out here, right? And we're on a crunch time. We're trying to get this thing done. And one of my crews, he got whatever excuse he gave me, and I've known him years, so he's been with me a long time. He gave me an excuse about his guys not being able to come into town. They're also worried about ice because they're at the Navy base out here. So I'm like, I get it, dude. So I looked at everything and I said, fuck it. So I went and started working on the front porch pergola and the deck because I can do that shit. Respect. My guys know that I can do all the shit they can do. And if I've got to fucking do it, somebody's going to have a problem. Respect. That's what I'm talking about. So to answer your question, there has to be a level of respect because you have to level the playing field. Again, why we teach what we teach. Because the first thing I tell them on the first call is I said, you are going to learn how to level the playing field because you have to work with your GC, not with him physically, but you have to be able to have a communication and an understanding to get his respect so that you respect each other back and get this thing done and maybe do it again. And that's a big thing that we teach is how do you build rapport? Having conversations like this, right? Being honest about what you're good at and what you're not good at. I ask crews all the time. I'm like, listen, out of the scope of work, is there anything you actually don't want to do? Yeah, I don't want to do the drywall. Thank you for telling me because I don't want to blow $6,500. I'll go call a drywall guy. No problem. Having those open dialogues builds respect because it's like, all right, cool, man. Like you're not making me feel like a punk and embarrassed that I can't get it done. And you're not going to piss me off that I got to have you fucking redo it. So I'm cool. But I also think it is your demeanor and disposition. I'm me 24/7. You've met me in person. You see me on this. You've had me on calls. I'm always the same guy, same energy level. This is what I do, right? And I'm very passionate about what I do. So I could talk about it all day long. I want to be able to help both sides of the fence find fucking harmony and make money. That's the contractor and the investor. All I want you to do is make money and do it again. That's it. But it starts with respect.
Yeah. So now, what are the things that on a rehab do you put contracts in place with all the subcontractors or the people working with you, or like how do you handle that?
Depends on the project. It depends on the crew. Okay. Because I've got to analyze risk like anybody else. Everything I do is fucking a risk. Every project we take is a risk. Every person I deal with is a risk. Every crew I bring on is a risk, right? So I look at risk all the time too. So that's how I base them. Sometimes I'll look at a project and go, we're going to handle materials. And then we early on, and then obviously I'll use a different contract for that with the client. There's times where we'll do all of it. You know, like, don't worry about it. We'll, you know, we're going to handle labor and material. There's a contract for that. Sometimes I'll tell the client, why don't you buy materials? We have a contract for that. And then we break that contract down. So we have a contract with the client, and then we have a contract with the sub, right? And that's how we learned how to do it from the hedge funds. Again, all the investors in the country that are like mad at us, it's like, dude, we learned from the people you get money from. Learn your business. So that's how they would do it. So there's multiple contracts in a transaction based on the levels of responsibility. That's how I assess the risk. So, you know, I'm a big fan of teaching investors, buy your own materials, control your margin, control your markups, right?
That's what I did. I always bought my materials, and even when I worked for other people as a GC, I made them buy their materials. I'm like, you guys go buy it, make sure you put it on the location, and I'm just gonna supply the labor, right?
100%.
And because I wasn't in the business of making money on the material, you know. Actually,
I personally think it's smarter. I actually 100% think it's totally smarter because it allows for more transparency in the budget, right? When you're looking at a budget line item, because when we do budgets, we break them down on an Excel spreadsheet immediately. Like we don't, I mean, I use my AI and I have it in 2 seconds, but we put it on a Excel spreadsheet so we can send it off to anybody's lender on your behalf. So you don't have to worry about it. But here, this is good. This is exactly what your lender's going to want anyway. We can manipulate it later, right? But if you say, hey, Roddy, I want you to come to Houston and build this house for me, but I just want labor. What you would get from me is a solid labor quote to pay my company team, right? The guys that I need to hire and bring on. Then there's going to be a project management line item because even if you're buying the materials, I still got to babysit that process. And I still got to babysit my laborers. So there's a project management line. Then there's going to be a GC fee regardless because I'm still supplying a team and I've got overhead and expenses. So you're going to see 3 price points in the total. And people look at that and go, what's all these line items? You don't even know what they are. Why are you questioning them? Well, it looks sketchy. How is it sketchy? Explain to me why it's sketchy. They can't explain why it's sketchy, but it's logic. There's a project management fee and a GC fee. GC fee takes care of the overhead of the company. Project management fee is a little bit of money for me to babysit teams because you're going to delay anyway on materials. You know what's going to happen. Or you're going to order materials that aren't in stock and we still got to wait. I got to babysit that shit. There's going to be times you can't have deliveries and I got to send guys to go pick it up. Okay, do you want a travel fee or a PM fee? It's all the same. So understanding, number one, the business of construction will set you free.
Yeah, we did. I used to buy, and let's talk about this for a second. Buying the materials, right? So I used to buy materials in Home Depot. Okay, don't get me wrong. Sometimes I will go to these other stores to get some flooring or maybe to get doors and trims that were cheaper, like somewhere else, because they brought the stuff from China. It's the same stuff that was in Home Depot, but buying from Home Depot made it so much easier for me because they had their pro portal, and every time I bought anything for a project, all the materials went to that one particular project, and my expense tracking was easy to do, right? Plus, Home Depot gives you financing and a bunch of other things. As a matter of fact, in the year 2017, I was one of the top 5 buyers of Home Depot in the whole area of Houston. We were spending millions of dollars in Home Depot, and I was using them as a warehouse, because if I knew a project was coming up and I had already the funds for the project, I will go to Home Depot, talk to the pro team, which, by the way, they give you a shit ton of discounts. And by the way, guys, this episode is not sponsored by Home Depot or anything like that. I'm just picking
That's hilarious.
on
That's funny.
basically on my own past experiences. And
That's
I
funny.
didn't know this thing, man, until we started buying a lot. They had this thing called the bullpen. And every time I spend more than $1,000 at any single buy, I would ask the pro account manager to put me in the bullpen. And what that meant was they will send the order to the bullpen to get me discounts. And
Right.
sometimes it was $100. Sometimes it was almost, it was a few $100s, even into the thousands, depending on how much money you were spending. But Home Depot will allow me to store the materials for 30 days. And
Mhm.
that was a game changer, because I had a warehouse, but sometimes my warehouse was full. And I'm
Right.
like, where do I put all this shit? Like, doors and trims, and you know how trims are very long. And um, but of course, if you go to other places, you might save some money, because some other places need to compete with that monster. And by the way they do it is by being cheaper. How do you source your materials?
Same thing. It's not rocket science. I mean, we're serial rehabbers. We've done thousands of flips, right? So we look at like, we have design boards based on ARVs, and we just talk to the client and go, is this kind of what you're looking for? Yep, that's pretty much it. We're going to change out a couple light fixtures, blah, blah, blah. All right, cool. That's 100% stock. Good. Right? So again, the logic of our industry, right, is you can't buy something at retail, fix it for retail, and sell it at retail. That doesn't make any sense. You have to buy it at massive discount, right? And then you're going to have to hire the guys who are willing to take the discount, right? Which are the C-level players. And then when you're looking at all of the materials you're going to choose, it's always going to be stock, because that's all you can fucking afford anyway. So again, it's just the logic of our industry. So we might as well just put that into a few design boards based on maybe different levels of ARV. Because I mean, how many people unless you live like in a specific county, like LA, where the cost of living is just different in general, right? Like $1 million home is the same square foot as a home you have in Houston, but your home in Houston is 450,000, but in LA it's 1.1. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's the only difference. Is if the ARV suggests a nicer light fixture. But for the most part, people are always rehabbing in the same wheelhouses, right? And you're going to buy your shit off Home Depot or your local big box store, right? So just like Lowe's is considered like the A of department stores, then you got Home Depot is like the B, and then you have like a Menards or whatever else you have local, Ace Harbor or whatever, is like a C or a D. That's how the game of construction works. You have A-level players, B-level players, C-level players, right? You have an A-level package, B-level package, C-level package for design. It's all the fucking same. It's all logic. So I don't do anything any different than you do. Nothing different. So all I tell the client is, are you familiar with putting carts together online? No, I don't know what that is. Or sometimes they do. I'm like, cool. Our team will tell you what we need when we need it every single week on a Monday before noon, so we could have it on Tuesdays, right? If you could have that delivered, great. But if you could have that cart ready to go, that'd be awesome. Or opposite, do you want us to put the cart together so you can just swipe the cart? It's a team effort, but it's basic. It's all stock. If there's something custom that we need to get, then we'll look all over. We'll look at Wayfair. We'll look at Amazon. We bought shit off of Temu. We bought shit off of Alibaba. Like, there's resources, man.
Yeah, those things didn't exist when I was rehabbing heavily, right? We only had the local stores
Right.
and some sketchy warehouses and shit, where I don't
Yeah.
know. To me, it could have been stolen from Home Depot or whatnot, but they were selling the doors cheaper. It was the same door that you buy for 100 and some bucks in Home Depot. They were selling it there for 70. And you're like, how? Like,
Yeah.
okay, fuck it, I'll take it, right? So, and it looks like they had a legitimate merchant and
Yeah.
legitimate name. So, but it was only the things that you could grab at the moment. Like, you could not call and say, "Hey, do you have 8x6 door like this and that. Like, no, just come to the store and check out what we got, and that's what you can get, right? In the case of Home Depot, and I focused so much on Home Depot was because of the pro, um, the way of tracking things. Because by the time I'm done with a project, even the water that I would buy, the cases of water that I would buy for my guys, I would put it to that project. And guess what? That was part of the cost because if they're consuming 10 cases of water a week and each case of water is $4, you just spend $400 on water that or $40 on water that you didn't know about. But in a period of like 10 weeks, that's $400. Now, did you take in consideration those $400 on water that you didn't even think about, right? So at
Right.
the end of the project, I would just do a printout and say, all right, we spent X amount of, and we stayed on budget many times, but man, gremlins behind the walls, that's where everything changed, right? So, how do you deal with change orders? Like, let's say you're on a project and then your client comes in and says, Roddy, um, I want to change I don't want to use this flooring anymore. I want to use this older flooring. And that kind of like throws budget and
So,
everything off the curb
so in
for
our
some
AI,
fucking reason. But
so in our AI, I always literally say something to the effect, like I'll talk to my phone at a property, right? And I'll say, I need a level 1, level 2, level 3 rehab scope and budget detail broken down for a 1,700 square foot home that's got 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, zip code 60061. I need that with a Gantt chart timeline, start date of September 1st, and I need all possible change orders and risks associated with cost and time. I'll give myself a report and I'm good to go. I give that to the client. I'm like, here's your future change orders so that you're aware that these might happen. That's what I do. So they have it immediately in about 6 minutes. And then from that point on, when the project goes and they want to change a color, they already know that they're on the hook for that. It's not even an option. I'm like, you want to change the color? That's fine. It doesn't bother me. If I haven't purchased it yet, no harm, no foul. If we put it in and they want to change it, it's on them. It's not, change orders to me is not even a major issue. I think it's taboo for a lot of people, like, oh, I don't want to bring up a change order. I'm like, listen, I already told you about the change orders before we started the project. So here we are. What do you want to do? You get to a point, and you can see my demeanor is very nonchalant because you get to a point where you know what matters and what doesn't matter. Because here's the deal, Ricardo. If it's your fucking house and I warned you about the change orders and you want to bitch at me that there's one, I'm going to simply say, no problem. Well, we can't really do anything further with that part. So we're going to leave. Call me, let me know what you want us to do. That's it. We're done. We don't bother arguing. There's zero fucking point in arguing. We have clients that would buy houses sight unseen. We'd give you the best budget we possibly could based on videos and fucking pictures that you supplied us. And we said, there's going to be change orders. And when the change orders come, they don't want to pay for it because they didn't budget for it. Okay, what do you want me to do, man? You want me to rob Peter, pay Paul? I mean, these are all your properties. We can do that for you. It's your money, your properties. And then we would do that. We would sit there and go, okay, well, we're going to take the draw you gave us for property 1. We're going to put it on your other property 2. Make sure you're tracking that, right? Then it becomes a clusterfuck and it's our fault. Listen, we told you from day one, there are always change orders. There are always change orders. Wrap your fucking head around it.
Now, where do you rehab? Do you rehab in all 50 states, or there are places you stay away from?
We probably, at one single time, we were in 9 states, meaning like we had open projects in 9 states. Right now, we have open projects in 4 states. Back in the day when we thought about that, that was a big, like, oh my God, we're going to scale, we're going to grow, like whole different mindset. Now it's kind of like we're so well known around the country where it's like somebody will call me out of Jersey and be like, hey man, I've been watching you for years and I finally got a property I think we can work on. How does the management thing work? And I'll explain to them, like, it's not for everybody. It's a very difficult thing, but I need your participation in that, So my point of saying that is we pick up projects kind of at random in different states. We're not looking for them. I'm here in Chicago. I keep everything local. But we've really dialed down a lot of our construction. Any given year, we're doing over 100 flips a year. And that's been consistent for over a decade. So we don't even count anymore, really. But I have dialed down the construction on purpose and kept things closer to home, so to speak, where I can control things better because construction is getting more complex. But we've been focusing heavily on the technology and the AI, where that's helping other investors do what we do. Like my education is in our AI. So you could that prompt I just read off to you that I'm asking myself for the change orders and the scope and all that, I can then say, okay, cool. Also, I need to know, how do I project manage this project? I've never done this size project before. And my education is going to tell you, Roddy says, and it's going to tell you how to project manage that house that you asked for a budget on. So not only does it do the work for you, it teaches you how to do your job if you need it. Operations, director of construction, project manager, designer, architect, all that shit. So it's a very robust. We just put all of our years of experience, all of our budgets, every scope, every contract, every problem, every design, every book, every manual, every webinar, every boot camp is in my AI. So that's why it's not your average construction AI. This is specific to rehabbers. It's fucking unique. And I literally talk to myself all day long. I don't do anything manual anymore. Like I don't even use Google. I don't just use random ChatGPT. I literally ask me, if I've got a thought on something, I ask myself. Like I live in my own AI.
Roddy, how can people get a hold of you?
Dude, easy. Follow me on Instagram, The Real Roddy G. You can follow me on Facebook, Rotty Garzilazo. Our website's pretty easy, therehabdepot.com, right? www.therehabdepot.com. And then you can also look up RoddyAI.com, Roddy-AI.com. So I'm pretty easy to get a hold of. You can also DM me anytime, send me an instant message. Every time I do these, I get a million calls, which I'm grateful for. Thank you. I'm blessed for it. But I'm here to help people. There's only two things I want to do and focus on right now. Join our GOAT program and use our AI, right? We're not even interested in doing your construction projects. We're so far beyond that now. I'd rather teach you how to run your own construction projects. That's where we're at. So AI and education, 30-day GOAT program, holler at me.
Guys, don't forget to hit share, like, and subscribe. Make sure you go find Roddy, send him a message. You know, if you really want to learn how to do a construction business or how to flip houses or whatnot, Roddy can take care of you when it comes to the rehab side and the construction side. With that being said, guys, I'll see you on the next one. Thank you so much, Roddy. I appreciate you, brother.
Anytime, dude. Thank you.